सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमतो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् निराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। केनेषितं पतति प्रेषितं मनः केन प्राणप्रथमप्रैतियुक्तः केनेषितां वाचमिमां वदन्ति चक्षुश्रोत्रं कौ देवो युनक्ति श्रोत्रस्य श्रोत्रं मनसो मनो यत् वाचोह वाचगुंसौ प्राणस्य प्राणः चक्षुषश्चक्षुरतिमुच्य धीरा प्रेत्यास्माल्लोका अमृता भवन्ति न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वाक्गच्छति नो मनो न विद्मो न विजानीमो यथैतदनुशिष्यात् अन्यदेव तद्विदिता दतो अविदिता दधि इति शुश्रुमपूर्वेषां येनस्तद्व्याचचक्षिरे यद्वाचानभ्युदितं येन वागभ्युद्यते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यन्मनसा न मनुते येन भूर्मनो मतं तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यच्चक्षुषा न पश्यति येन चक्षुर्षि पश्यति तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यच्छ्रोत्रेण न शृणोति येन श्रोत्रमिदगुं श्रुतम् तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते यत्प्राणेन न प्राणिति येन प्राणप्रणीयते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते। The Vedas deal with the knowledge. It deals with the knowledge of Dharma at level 1 and deals with the knowledge of Brahman at level 2. So there are two levels of knowledge. One is Dharma and another is Brahman. To understand Dharma and follow the life of Dharma becomes a prerequisite to know Brahman. Meaning, it is Dharmic alone can understand Brahman, can know Brahman. you have a basic intelligence and some understanding of the words, you can have a intellectual understanding of what Brahman is, what God is. And that is not going to bring about a knowing Brahman. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. A very unique knowledge. A very unique knowledge that we are talking about, which is totally unconnected to other types of knowledges. What is the difference between the other type of knowledges and the Brahma Vidya? The fundamental difference between the two is, in all other knowledges, the knower and the known will remain separate forever. Like the railway track. The two always remain parallel. From a distance, it looks like they are going to merge. But you go there, it always remain separate. They can never together. They can never merge. It means in all worldly knowledges, the knower and the known remains separated. That knowledge makes sense. That knowledge is appealing. That knowledge will make sense. That knowledge is what keeps life going. Vedas come in with a different type of knowledge. You understand this, you will not want to study this. And we should not be saying all this, but we are saying. The difference between the other types of knowledges and this knowledge. The difference between the other types of knowledges and this knowledge is this. The knower becomes the known. In all other knowledges, the knower and the known always remains different. For example, you know an apple, do you become an apple? What will happen? If all that you know, you become that, you will not know anything. You cannot do anything. But here is a knowledge where you know it. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower becomes the known. It means it is a fundamentally different knowledge which is totally unconnected to any other knowledges that we are aware of or know or use. Upanishad talks about that knowledge. Vedanta talks about that. Vedas, Vedanta talks about that knowledge. Okay, in order to understand that, a preparation is required. That preparation is called dharma. So a dharmic mind, a dharmic person becomes capable of understanding Brahman. And what does understanding Brahman means? Becoming Brahman. We all understand Brahman here, but we don't become it. They come and ask, why aren't we becoming it? Because if you know it, you should become it. No. It is like, how do you know an apple? You know Brahman. You also know Brahman. Like, how do you know an apple? You know an orange. You know an apple. You know the physical properties, chemical properties, biological properties, what it can be used, what it can't be used for. All that is known. But you don't become that. Meaning, something at the core, the difference remains. Here is the knowledge. The Vedas talks about, you know that, you become that. You know that, you become that. So, in order to become that, a dharmic mind, a dharmic personality, a dharmic individual becomes a prerequisite. And that dharma is what? The first portion of the Vedas. What is the karma and the upasana? Because we are studying Upanishad, we have to use the word upasana. When we study Bhagavad Gita, we will use the word bhakti. Because we are studying Upanishad, we will use that word only. Why do we have to use some other word? So the Upanishad uses the word karma and upasana. Karmopasana. Karma and upasana. Upasana means bhakti. So, the karma and upasana, the action and the right attitude behind action is that which creates a dharmic, it creates a dharmic mind, and the dharmic mind is the prerequisite for knowing Brahman, because knowing that, you become that. Are you okay till now? If you agree to this, then you have a problem. Yes. Now that you have agreed to this, You asked for the problem. What is the problem? If you have to become that, you have to let go of this. You can't retain this and become that. You can't retain your individuality and still become that. It means if you have to become that, you need to let go of. You need to let go of. And very difficult is to let go of. Accumulations are alright, but letting go of is very difficult. From 100 to 150 is alright. From 1000 to 5000 is alright. A million to billion is alright. But from million to zero is not acceptable. In order to become Brahman, you don't go from million to billion. From million, you hit the zero. Meaning, you are ready to lose yourself. When you lose yourself, whatever happens, whatsoever remains, we give it a name called Brahman. And the word Brahman is not Brahman. That also we are going to study. You give it a word called Brahman, and that Brahman is not, actually it is not what it is. Whatsoever you call as Brahman, the Upanishad itself is going to say that is not Brahman. You will say this is Brahman, the Upanishad will say this is Brahman, and then it will say this is not Brahman. You feel like telling the Upanishad first you decide. Modala neenga clarity eduthundo, then come on. So the content of the Vedas is divided into these two, Purva and Anta. Purva is Karmopasana, which is a dharmic life. The dharmic life, technical word for the dharmic life is called Achara and Anushtana. That's a technical word. Dharmic life is a layperson's term. There is a technical word also. The technical word is Achara and Anushtana. Achara means the path. Anushtana is the do's and don'ts that keeps you to the path. Why do we need to do all this? Why do we have to study all this? Why do we need to go through this study, this process? There is the impurity, awareness of the impurity, and cause of the impurity. Again, first is called mala, impurity, dirt. Second is vikshepa, awareness of the dirt. The third one is ajnanam, the cause of restlessness. All this to be understood, you need some basic preparation. Basic preparation means readiness to do a few things. Everybody understands the restlessness of the mind. To say you have a restless mind, you don't need Bhagavad Gita, you don't need Upanishad. You yourself know it. That which Pratyaksha Pramanam and Upamana Pramanam can teach, Shastra Pramanam is not required. Meaning, if that which inference, sensory perception and inference can teach you, you don't need Shastra to come and teach it again. Basic common sense, basic intelligence will tell you, you don't need Shastra to come and say this. Everything is changing. Everything is impermanent. You don't need a Upanishad to come and teach you that. Your sensory perception and inference itself can teach you that. You don't need you follow. If this can teach, you don't need somebody else to come and teach you that which you are already aware of. So Vedas has to come and teach us something which these don't teach. Everything is temporary. Everything is impermanent. All those who are born will die. You don't need Upanishad for that, isn't it? You open your eyes, basic intelligence, ordinary intelligence you have, you will understand this. The trouble is, we don't have it. The trouble is, we don't have it. A person will go to a funeral procession and keep looking at the watch, isn't it? You go to a funeral and you keep looking at the because you have something else to go. If for 1 second if you realize somebody, you will be lying down like that, and somebody will keep looking at the watch. Now how? This you don't need Upanishads to come and teach. Your perception itself can teach. Everything is changing. Inference itself can teach. Therefore, in Vedanta, in Vedantic logic, reason, analysis, we come and say that which the other pramanams can teach, Shastra is not required. It means what Shastra teaches, other pramanams cannot know it. The converse is also true. What the Shastra is teaching, the other pramanams cannot know it. If they can know it, then why do you need this again? Then Pratyaksham and Anumanam itself can teach you. Perception and inference itself can teach you. You follow? This is basic. This is the basic study of knowledge. This is a basic study of the analytical methods. Whether we like it or not, the authoritative source of knowledge for a human being is always one. We like it, we don't like it, we accept, we don't accept, it doesn't make any difference. The law doesn't change. We have only one authoritative source. For each and every knowledge, there is only one authoritative source, and no other sources can verify it, prove it, disprove it, accept, don't accept. For example, for color and form, what is the only pramanam? Eyes is the only pramanam for color and form. It may be your eyes or somebody's eyes, but eye is the only pramanam for color and form. Supposing if you say, what the eyes has said, let me verify through ears. Is it possible? It means whether you accept or don't accept, agree or don't agree, there is only one pramanam for color and form. That is the eyes. For sound, ears. For each and every pramanam. For emotions, there is only one pramanam. What is that pramanam for emotions? Mind. We all know the basics. For emotions, there is only one pramanam, the mind. No other instrument can come and prove it or disprove it. For logic, reason, analysis, there is only one pramanam, one instrument. For buddhi, the intellect. It means it is very clear in life what the pramanam is always. The pramanam is always only one. You agree this, you digest this, then Shraddha in the Shastra will come. Only if you digest this, only if you understand this, accept this, digest this, the conviction, the Shraddha in the Shastra will come. Once Shraddha in the Shastra comes, you will be ready to follow the path of Dharma. And when you follow the path of Dharma, there is the maturity. You are ready to know Brahman, and the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. The sequence of this is how it is designed. But sir, how do I verify what is said in the Shastras? Question. For which Vedanta gives an answer. How do you verify color and form? Eyes. You have to agree to it, no? Do you follow the question? You have to agree to it. You can say, I don't agree. But it doesn't make any sense at all. Or, if you want to bring in another verifying factor to verify color and form, it's of no use. Similarly, what is said in the scripture, the pramanam, the authority is the scripture only. Can we go through the alpha state, beta state? I don't know what all state is there, isn't it? alpha state, beta state, this state, that state, put plugs all over, and then see consciousness, Brahman. It is like trying to verify color and form through years. How absurd it is. That's why we don't take to that path of trying to verify what is said in the Shastra by any other pramanam. And that pramanam says dharmic life is very essential to understand Brahman. And what is that dharmic life? Karma upasana. Karma and upasana. Karma and bhakti. In the layperson's term, you can call it as karma and bhakti. Restlessness, dharma is not a solution for restlessness. If you become dharmic, by default restlessness will go away. It's a byproduct, that's not the direct intent. You are restless, therefore, okay, if I follow dharmic method, will I be free from my restlessness? Vedanta comes and says, no. See, for restlessness, there are various ways of getting rid of restlessness depending on your guna. A tamasic person way of getting rid of restlessness is what? Drink and sleep. Have a tamasic way of overcoming restlessness is what? Have a peg and fall off to sleep. It's all. Calm down. Rajasic way is what? Rajasic way of overcoming restlessness is what? Keeping oneself busy all the time. Minute to minute program, isn't it? Minute to minute program. Because the Rajoguna makes you so restless that so much you have to pack yourself so that you can be free from restlessness. So tamasic way, if you have a tamasic guna, one way of getting rid of restlessness. If you have a rajasic way, another way of getting rid of restlessness. If you have a sattvic way, karma upasana. But you are not intending to develop restlessness. You are not asking for freedom from restlessness. You want to have that peace of mind so that you can do a deeper inquiry. You want freedom from restlessness for the purpose of inquiry. What is that inquiry? What is that inquiry that they come up with? Mantra 1 padinga. We have to start the Upanishad, no? Yes.
Kedeshitam patati preshitam mana kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha keneshitam vachamimam vadanti chakshushrotram kaudevo yunakti kedeshitam patati preshitam mana kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha keneshitam vachamimam vadanti chakshushrotram kaudevo yunakti.
Who breathes in you? Who is speaking in you? By whom willed? I can't see from here. வெங்கட் என்ன சொல்லி கொடுக்குறேன் அதையும் படிங்க இல்லை அப்படியே படிங்க நீங்களே.
By whom willed and directed does the mind alight on objects? Endowed by whom does the primeval prana, vital air function? By whom willed does speech originate? What spirit indeed directs the eye and ear?
What is the original source of the entire life? The dharmic life, the Veda Purva preparation and all is done to develop a maturity, and then this question comes. You can't come and ask this question directly. You can ask, But there is a difference between the two. Asking a prepared mind, a dharmic person who lives that life, all that we have discussed, there is a question. What is the question? A hidden, inexhaustible thing. What is it? Something which is so deep, something which is at the core, something which is so penetrative, that which goes on and on and on. What is that? Force is that which gives you the very life itself, for which he is using four symbolic terms from the individual. The Upanishadic inquiry starts, either you can start with the macrocosmic inquiry and come to the same conclusion, or you can ask the microcosmic inquiry and come to the same conclusion. Here the Upanishad is taking the microcosmic route. What is the microcosmic route? By whom willed and directed does the mind alight upon its objects? Commanded by whom does the primeval prana, the vital air, primeval prana, meaning that all these words indicate that person has studied so much already and he knows the technical answer already. The question itself implies he knows the answer. By whose will does speech arise? What intelligence directs the eyes and the ears towards the respective objects? Kena ishitam, kena preshitam. Two words, ishitam and preshitam. By whom willed and by whom, two different things is being spoken here. By whom willed and by whom directed. So it means there are lot of study will happen about on these two words itself, preshitam and ishitam. By whom willed and by whom directed. Again and again these two aspects is being discussed. The mind objectifies the world. The mind objectifies the world. When we say mind objectifying the world, means what? That's where some basic study is some basic preparation will help. Okay, take the lesson theory of perception. It helps. There is the object, and then there is the subject, and whenever the interaction between the subject and the object happens, there arises the knowledge. There arises the knowledge. The question is, what is it that is directing this entire activity? That is the question. What is it that is powering this entire activity? What is it that is directing this entire activity? Who is willing it? Who's willing it means, is there anybody who is sitting there wanting all this to happen? Is there anybody existing there wanting all this to happen? Kena yuktaha is in relation to the prana. Who is it that is yukta? More derivative way, more popular word, yuktiன்ற ஒரு தமிழ் word இருக்கு. யுக்தினா அது என்ன? How do you define that word yukti in English? Skill. Yukti is a very commonly used word, isn't it? Correct. Skill, technique. Something is happening. It means somebody knowing everything is masterminding it. Who is the mastermind behind all this? Who's the mastermind behind all these is the question. For which he is asking mind, and then he is asking pranas, and then he is asking the eyes and the ears. Now it doesn't really, don't worry about these actual four things. What it means is the individual has done a very penetrative inquiry about one's own self and came up to the level of the intellect, and having stuck there, he is asking, is there anything beyond this? Is there anything beyond this? What is it that is giving life to this lifeless entity called matter? That is the question. The question is, what is that which is giving life to matter, as it were? If matter has life in itself, then there is no need to study about that anywhere, because anyway it is part of the study, it is part of the matter. So the question is awareness, is consciousness part of the matter, or is it that which enlivens the matter? Again, is that part of the matter, or is that which enlivens the matter? Whatever answer is going to give, we know the answer already. Yeah, that's why for us there is no thrill in this question at all. Like, even Bhagavad Gita, we know the climax already, isn't it? Therefore, we will never have, like, imagine if you can study Bhagavad Gita without knowing the climax of Mahabharata story, how you will read it? Arjuna was in that position. He didn't know. We have a luxury. What is a luxury? We know the result already. So for us, it's not a... Now, even here, answer is consciousness, sir. What is the problem? We know the Brahman. We know the answer. We know the answer already. The question is what? What we call as matter, the definition of matter as insentient. How do you arrive at it? How do you arrive at saying it is insentient? Only if you understand it as insentient, then the question is, what gives life to this? Then only the question comes, what gives life to this? Your Pratyaksha Pramanam and Anumana Pramanam says, matter by itself is not insentient. It is these people saying it is insentient. It is insentient. Does your Pratyaksha Pramanam or the inference says it is insentient? It is lifeless? You can't say yes. You can't say no. You can't say there is life in it. Neither can you say there is no life in it. It means looks like it is there and also looks like it is not there. Confused knowledge, this is called. This is called Samshaya Jnana. Samshaya Jnana means looks like you know it and also you don't know it. Nishchaya Jnana means you know it without doubt. Samshaya Jnana means you know it and whatsoever you know, there is a doubt. Now the question, is matter inert? Is matter inert? Pratyaksha Pramanam, Anumana Pramanam will come and say, no. They are not inert. The definition itself calling it as inert is wrong. Subconsciously, we are so deeply convinced by that. Even though we keep repeating all this matter, human being equals matter plus spirit, we keep repeating matter is insentient, matter is insentient, matter is insentient, etc. It has no life by itself. It is something else that gives life. All that we keep saying it, all that we keep hearing it, the query, the question, the restlessness is what? How do you conclude that it is inert? Okay, because death happens, you can call it inert. Because death happens, can you call it as inert? No. Death cannot be called as inert, because even in the dead body, nails are growing, no? Hair grows, nail grows. You know that, no? At least for 3 weeks it keeps growing. Who knows that? Does anybody know? It keeps going, isn't it? 3 weeks. If you keep the body intact, 3 weeks, nails grow, hair grows. The organs are harvested and transplanted. It's alive. Is the person dead or alive? Very confusing now, isn't it? Very confusing. But if you are confused, then we'll thank Shelter Resort. If you are very confused, and go back more confused, all the way you come here to get confused. I would have come next month, no? Benny, why did you come? I would have come next month to confuse you. All the way you came to get confused. You should get confused. What is the confusion? How do you define it as inert first? The very definition of it being inert is a very difficult understanding. The moment you understand it as inert, then this question of kene shitam, kena preshitam, all that makes meaningful. This person has understood it as inert, lifeless. What made him to accept it? What made him to understand that it is inert? Again I am repeating the same analysis. Again I am repeating. Think about 3 days time we have. Isn't it? And just to give you space to think, we keep engaging you with some talks. All of the talks are all an excuse. Confusion is the purpose. And if the talks are really confusing you, super classer, ellam purinjithuna, I will get very shocked. If you come and say, onnum purilla, not a word I understood, very confusing, na? Bada. Some communication is actually. How do you understand it as inert? Even you call as dead body, is it dead? Even what you call as dead is not. Is not. Then what is inert there? What is inert? What is inert? Here comes the Upanishad. What a foolish question you are asking. There is no such thing called inert at all in the first place. There is only consciousness. You will follow. There is only Brahman. Where did inertness come at all in the first place? There is no such thing called inert at all in the first place. There is only consciousness. The consciousness appearing in various forms, in various expressions, various manifestations. You can use the word consciousness. Upanishad is going to use the word consciousness. The layperson uses the word God. Brahman, consciousness. The layperson uses the term God. Then, why do we call it as matter at all in the first place then? Even though it is not there, we can relate to the word matter. Even though it is there, we can never relate to the word consciousness. It is because of our problem. Are you able to follow? Amar. They have to bring in the word inert, matter, because somehow we are able to connect with the word matter. We are not able to connect with consciousness as it were. Therefore, what do they do? You relate with this, no? Thing called matter, correct. Yes. What you see as matter is not what it is. It is the consciousness appearing like this. It's an appearance. So matter becomes an appearance and the enlivener becomes the reality. Now what is the question? Keneshitam padati preshitam manaha and all that. Now in the backdrop of what we discussed, what is the question now? What is the question? How would you rephrase the question? In the way he's using words which makes us connect with. But actually what is the actual question? Chakshushrotram kahudevo vinakti. Kahudevo vinakti. What is that? What is that power? What is that power? Something is there but not seen. What is that? Something is there but not seen. An existence which is not an unknowable existence. What is that unknowable entity is the question. To ask that question, he comes up very beautifully and says, what is it that makes the eyes to see? What is it that makes the ears to hear, etc.? What is it that is making all this possible? It is there, but you don't see it. It is there, but not perceivable. Why it is not perceivable? Because the instruments through which you want to perceive don't have the capacity. That's how we started the analysis by saying one instrument is pramanam only for one. Again, that's how we start that analysis. One instrument is authoritative source of knowledge for only one. Color and form, etc., emotions, feelings, etc., knowledge, understanding, etc., different instruments, different pramanam. For consciousness, what is the pramanam? For God, what is the pramanam? That is the question. By whom willed? Kena ishitam, kena preshitam. By whom willed, by whom directed. One is by whom directed, the Sakshi. Another is who is the participant in every aspect of life and who is the witnesser of all this. Very, very beautiful question. One is the witnesser of everything. Another is the one who is enlivening and participating in everything. He is combining everything together into one. What is he trying to combine? He is combining the Sakshi, and Sakshi is the direct. He is there directing everything, but not participating in anything. Another aspect of it is not just a Sakshi, but it itself becomes that. So two questions: Kena ishitam and Kena preshitam. By whom willed and by whom directed. Not only it is a Sakshi, at the same time it becomes that, and at the same time it transforms itself into that, and yet it remains a Sakshi to that. What is that? What is that he is asking? First of all, is there a thing like that in the first place? Is there a thing like that in the first place existing at all, which is transcending the instruments? If it is transcending the instruments, if the instruments are incapable, then why are you even teaching us that? Why are you even teaching us that? Beautiful question. Maitreyi asks Yagyavalkya, if all the instruments of knowledge is gone, Yagyavalkya, so beautifully he elaborates. Someday we will study that also. Yeah, it's called Maitreyi Brahmana. Beautiful portion. Conversation between Yagyavalkya and Maitreyi. Isn't it? Sometimes husband and wife can talk about Brahman also, he's saying, isn't it? They don't have to talk about other things. They can talk about Brahman also. Once in a while, they can talk about Brahman also. Yeah. Prabhu, அது என்ன பெருமாள் அவரிங்க அப்படி பிடிச்சி வச்சுட்டார். Yeah. The God here holds the goddess so tightly. She can't escape, no? Correct? You saw that, isn't it? She can't escape. The God makes the goddess sit on his lap, hold her tightly. Vedam solline irukrar. It means she can't escape that. She can't escape that. She wants to escape, she can't escape. Poor lady. Captive audience. Captive audience. No escape at all. Yajnavalkya asks, Maitreya asks to Yajnavalkya, when all the instruments of knowledge is gone, Yajnavalkya, what are you talking? It doesn't make any sense at all. Secondly, how will I know it then? How will I know it? Because you said instruments can't take it. If instruments can take it, all that is known through the instruments are bound to be limited because it is bound by the limitations of the instruments. And a limited instrument cannot give you an unlimited knowledge. Therefore, through the instruments, any knowledge or any experience of Brahman is not possible at all through the instruments. I agree to all this, Yajnavalkya. Then okay. Then how will I know it? Beautiful answer. Swayam prakashate atma. What are you asking, Maitreyi? It knows itself by Swayam prakashate. It doesn't need, it is not an instrument based knowledge. It is the very knowledge itself without the need of any instruments. இந்த மாதிரி non-stop வளரவே முடியாது சார், isn't it? Nobody can non-stop prattle like this. And we are going to prattle like this for the rest of the 3 days also. About consciousness. How can you do that? For no instrument can know it. Why? Swayam prakashate. That it knows itself by itself. The question is, what is that? The question is, what is that consciousness which is appearing like this? Are you able to follow the question? So he is not saying it is the enlivener alone, it is not just the sakshi, it is not just the witnesser, it is not just the enlivener, it is appearing that. What is it? In witnessing also there is a duality still. Something is happening, something is witnessing it. So, knowledge means the duality should dissolve. It means it has to be the witnesser, and it should also become that. Yeah. From one angle it is sakshi, from another angle it has become that. The question is, what is that entity which is enlivening everything at the same time? It has become that. It means it enlivens and becomes. It enlivens and it becomes. What is that? Kena ishitam, kena reshitam. The 4 words he uses. Indriyas, the eyes, the ears, the mind, the prana. Now I am not going into these 4 words because we are familiar with these 4. We are familiar with these 4 words. That's why I am not taking the route of talking about these 4 words. Ishitam and preshitam is the question. So what is the question here? Kena ishitam, kena preshitam. If you understand it in relation to the subject, you can understand the same is happening in relation to the object. That's why in Vedanta there are 2 types of inquiry. One is samashti vichara, which is the inquiry of the macrocosm. Another is the inquiry of the microcosm. When you say, who am I? It is an inquiry of the microcosm. When you say, how did the world start? When did it begin? Is there a creator at all? Then it is inquiry of the macrocosm. In both ways, in two separate ways, you can arrive at the question. Answer remains the same. Kena ishitam and kena preshitam. Just remember these two words. Innikku nalikku will be using these two words only repeatedly, again and again and again and again. We will keep using these two. By whom willed and by whom directed. This ishitam and preshitam and all is Vedic words. That's why in Sanskrit, just a deviation. The Sanskrit itself is divided into two. The Vedic Sanskrit and the Laukik Sanskrit. Bhagavad Gita and all is the Laukik Sanskrit. Bhagavad Gita, Ashtavakra Gita, Yoga Vasishta, all this comes under Laukik Sanskrit. Ishitam, Preshitam words and all is Vedic Sanskrit. Therefore, it has to be rightly known and it has to be rightly interpreted to explain. If not, it looks like, sir, Ishidam, willed and directed and all. How does this come under these two words? It's a very... This Bhashya is so beautiful. Shankaracharya has wrote 2 commentaries on this Bhashya. Same person writing 2 commentaries. You know how he did? One he wrote word by word. Another commentary is mantra by mantra. Like all our commentaries is mantra by mantra. We don't go word by word. The same Upanishad, he goes word by word. So there, when he goes into the Ishitam and Preshitam, word by word meaning, it's a beautiful elaboration. Adike 3 days out. The Bhashya style of studying Upanishad itself will take, the question itself will take 3 days. Because he goes into the meaning of this so much and arrives at this conclusion. Now what I am doing here, bypassing all the derivations and explaining in the language which we have studied already. So, wherever we talk about Brahman, we talk about Brahman in 2 ways. One is, it is the enlivener. Another is, one of the enlivener, the Sakshi. Another is, it has become that. When you work backwards, first you have to see the entire creation as Brahman. That's what happens when you go back, what they say as the state of partial realization. It is that has become all this. It means all the Nama Rupa is Brahman. Please understand. Nama Rupa enlivened by Brahman is one level. Adella LKG class. Parleji class. We don't do that. Parleji class, we say Nama Rupa is there. No. If you come to the real Upanishadic level, what is it that you have to understand? The entire Nama Rupa is Brahman. Is Brahman appearing as the various Nama Rupa. Just as examples. What is the example? You can't forget those examples. How many times brainwashing has been done? What are the examples? Super. Class. Clay and the pot. The gold and the ornament. It is the gold that is appearing as ornaments. Now you can look at the ornament and miss the gold, thinking that the ornament has an independent status. In the initial stages, where the understanding is very poor, very low, we think each and every Nama Rupa has an independent status. Each and every ornament has an independent status. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa comes and says, at least be wise as the thief. He says, even the thief has a slightly better wisdom than you. What? How he sees that? He says, just as the thief sees everything as gold, he says. Just as the thief sees everything as gold, you see the entire Nama Rupa as Brahman. That itself is a very high level of, that is a very high level of growth. Very high level of spirit. Meaning, the moment you start seeing everything as Brahman, what happens after that? If you hate somebody, if you hate somebody, you are hating Brahman. Can you hate Brahman? Adveshta? How can you hate? So whom are you hating? What are you hating? Sir, Brahman I am not hating, sir. In that person, Brahman I don't hate. In that person, the nose and the eyes and the ears only, I hate. Enlivener of God I don't hate. But that package is not. That guna package you still have to hate only. No. When it comes and says, oh, you are still talking that language. Go back, it says. Go back. Don't come. Yeah. No, go back. Go back into what? Go back into the understanding that how it is that which is appearing like this. It is that which is appearing like this. But sir, I am seeing it like that. But what will happen to the other? Are you able to follow the question now? I am seeing it as a goal on this, but that person, what will happen to that person? What will happen in that person? Oh, you are still asking this question, go back. For any question you ask, the answer is go back. Yesterday we established that, no? No questions. We have established that already. No questions are penny. Don't ask anything. Even in other classes also. Not only here. Don't ask anything. Just stay quiet. What is it? What is it? You believe that Nama Rupa has an independent status. Why do you believe Nama Rupa has an independent status? Because you are still looking at it through the Pratyaksha and Anumana. You have not come to the Shastra vision. You still have the instruments vision. The moment you come to the Shastric vision, the moment you take the Vedantic vision, the Vedic vision, what does the Vedic vision says? None of this has any independent status. All this is that appearing like this. But why should it appear like this, sir? Why should it appear like this? Why can't it just stay as it is? Consciousness அப்படியே இருந்திருக்கலாம் இல்லையா? Pure consciousness அப்படியே உட்கார்ந்திருக்கலாமே. காஃபியில் சுகர் ஜாஸ்தியாக இருக்குன்னு பேசிட்டே இதெல்லாம் பேசினா என்ன பண்ணுறது? Sugar, less sugar in the coffee, more sugar in the coffee, and then the question is, why can't consciousness be as it is? What is the answer for that? What is the answer for that? What is the answer for that? சொன்னதே காதில் விழலன்னு அர்த்தம். Not a word has entered, because it never happened in the first place for you to ask all these questions. You are asking all these questions because the instrument is telling you this is happening. Because it is the instrument that is telling you it is happening, who has to answer that why? The instrument should answer. Are you able to follow? That's why I always say, Maya, no, who should explain Maya? The instrument should explain Maya. You come to the Shastra and ask, explain Maya. No? Shastra says, why are you asking me? You experience something? Yeah, you experience something. Who should explain that? You will experience something. What I am experiencing, you explain. Na? How does it work? It doesn't work like that. Therefore, what is the question? Ishitam and kena ishitam and kena preshitam. Kena ishitam patati preshitam mana kena prana. What kena again? He keeps using the word kena keeps coming again and again and again. So wonderful a question has to be understood to know the answer that he is saying. Shrotrasya Shrotram. To understand the answer, Kelve Purilana answer. So what is the question that he is asking about God? The question is about God. What is that God that is directing everything and has become that? Directing, there is a separate entity directing something. Now it is directing at the same time becoming that. It means whether directing comes first or becoming comes first, or both happens together simultaneous, or what is all this happening? The question is, enna nadakudhu sutti avladha. Are you able to follow? Like a drunken man questions. What is happening is the question, for which the answer is mantra number 2. We will do the answer.
Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mano Yad Vachoha Vachagu Savu Pranasya Pranaha Chakshurati Muchya Dhira Pretyasma Lokadamrita Bhavanti. Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mano Yad Vachoha Vachagu Savu Pranasya Pranaha Chakshurati Muchya Dhira Pretyasma Lokadamrita Bhavanti. That which indeed is the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, the speech of the speech, the prana, vital air of the prana, and the eye of the eye. The voice having completely freed and risen above this world become immortal.
Ear of the ear, you become immortal. That's the answer. What is that which has become all this? Is the Ishitam and Preshitam. What is that? Ear of the ear. Kena Ishitam, Kena Preshitam. What is the answer? Shrotrasya Shrotram. That's the answer. How can that become the answer? Shrotrasya Shrotram. Knowing this, the voice becomes immortal. English language, capital E, small e, comma, punctuation marks, everything is understandable. So there is some communication that is possible. Shrotrasya Shrotram. There is no Sanskrit la capital E kadayadu, small e kadayadu. Then how do you even understand that? It means you can put wherever you want, put capital E, you can put wherever small e, you can. The very language itself is so. I don't know why they made the language so beautifully like this. Shrotrasya Shrotam. Pret asma loka amrita bhavanti. Bhavanti again very loosely they translate it as become. Bhavanti actually is asmi. Bhavanti should be seen as asmi. Aham Brahma asmi. Asmi na present continuous. It doesn't correct. It just the past, present, future. It remains the same. Aham Brahma Asmi means I was Brahman, I am Brahman, and I will be Brahman. The wise understanding this attain immortal. They become Brahman. Anything that borrows is matter. That which lends is, that which gives is the consciousness. This is the definition. Anything that borrows is matter. That which lends is consciousness. That's why that's the difference between matter and spirit. Borrowed means not its intrinsic nature. Again, borrowed means what? It's not its intrinsic nature. Yesterday we saw that, no? Heat is not intrinsic to water because it cools down, isn't it? First you have to have the fire, and the fire should heat the vessel, and the vessel will heat the water, isn't it? You can't pour directly water onto the fire, isn't it? So borrowed it is. So the fire, the vessel borrows heat from the fire. And water borrows from the vessel. It means it is not intrinsic to it. So matter means that which doesn't have an intrinsic nature of consciousness. It doesn't have it's not its swabhava. Its swabhava is to borrow. So matter means that which borrows. You know that? Borrowing means keeping. Yeah, that's why we keep borrowing, because swabhava of the instruments is to borrow. What it borrows? The consciousness it borrows. Having borrowed the consciousness, it believes that it is alive. It believes that it is alive. It is like the water believing that it is hot. It is like the water believing that it is hot. It is not hot intrinsically, but it is borrowed. Shrotrasya shrotram. That is the meaning. Again, that is the meaning of Shrotrasya Shrotram. In English, you can call it as eye of the. In English, you can call it as eye of the eye. In English, you can call it as eye of the eye. But in reality, the small I and the capital I gives you a distinction. The small e and the capital E gives you the distinction. Shrotrasya Shrotram. That which is intrinsically inert, that which is intrinsically conscious. Again, matter is that which is intrinsically inert. Consciousness is that which is intrinsically, it means consciousness can never become inert. Like consciousness can never become unconscious. That's what it means. Consciousness can never become unconscious. That's the Upanishadic declaration. You are that already. You are imagining it to be. Actually, you are that already. Even now, you are that already. It is insane. It is inert. What gives life to it? It is the consciousness that gives life to it. Knowing this, you become immortal. What is the connection? Shrotra says Shrotram, you understand, you become. You understand Shrotra says Shrotram, you become immortal. So understanding is enough. That is Upanishad. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Because all that you have, the implications, you have done everything enough already. The implication is here is what? At your level, it's not saying you don't have to do anything. You have done enough already. How do you know that you have done enough already? How do you know that? I feel like that, sir. I feel like that. I feel I have done enough. Just to close your eyes. You will know you have not done anything at all. Because it is not fixated. You fix it, it doesn't get fixed. You follow? It doesn't get fixed. That's why in the Yoga Sutra, in the Patanjali, Dharana, Dhyana and all is the indicator of growth. Dharana, Dhyana becomes indicator of growth according to the Patanjali Sutra. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi and all that. Now, Dharana, Dhyana is the indicator of growth. Dharana means what? You fix the mind at a place, it will not move. It doesn't move all by itself. If it is moving all by itself, go back to Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 we studied yesterday. Carry the mind away, carries the intellect away, carries the entire personality away. So, how do you know that you have done enough? Place your mind here, it stays here. You place your body here and mind goes everywhere. Goes for a world tour and comes back. Again another world tour and comes back. In the matter of 1 hour, how many world tours it goes and comes back. And the person says, I think I have done enough, sir. What more do you want me to do? I said, what do you mean, what more you want to do? What more should I do? Start a panle no. Yes. Like the Tamil joke, Sunday ஆரம்பிக்கல அதுக்குள்ள ஃபைனலா என்ன சொல்றான்னு கேட்டா இல்லையா ஃபைட் இட் செல்ஃப் டிட் ஸ்டார்ட் கரெக்டா சங்கர் சண்டை ஆரம்பிக்கிறதுக்குள்ள ஃபைனலா என்ன சொல்ற they say that meaning first you have to allow the fight to start, argument should happen, blows should, and then 2 days later you say finally what are you? Yeah, that is acceptable. Even before the action has started, the person says, what more do you want me to do? What more do you want me to do? What more do you want me to do? The Upanishad says, oh, you think you have done enough? Correct, I have done enough. He's going to show, no, next month, part 3, part 4, the story itself. Burn this, he will say. Get fixated. I can see what you are up to. It goes all over the place. It is going all over the place because of the inner restlessness is there very at the core. It is there. At the core, the restlessness is there, and there are temporary methods too. And there are temporary methods to handle the restlessness, and then there are permanent cure for the restlessness. There are 2 ways. One is the temporary methods to handle the restlessness. Another is the permanent cure. The Upanishad comes with the permanent cure, while rest comes with the temporary cure. And the temporary cure will always be more appealing than the permanent cure. Because permanent cure it looks like a long time. Temporary things seems to happen instantly, immediately. It doesn't work like that. What does it mean? Go back. He says, go back. To what you have to go back to? To what you have to go back to? the karma upasana, go back to karma upasana, get matured. Go back to karma upasana, get matured. Once those who have done that, they attained this. What did they attain? Immortality. What does attaining immortality means? In Vedantic language, attaining immortality means recognizing that you have been always immortal. In Vedantic language, it is not from bondage to freedom. Bondage is imaginary. Again, in Vedanta, in Upanishads, you don't move from bondage to liberation. You don't move from samsara to moksha. The very samsara itself isn't there. Never happened. Mandukya says it, and Ashtavakra elaborates it in Ashtavakra Gita. Mandukya says it very beautifully. That's why Upanishad is very difficult. Mandukya says, Ashtavakra elaborates it in Ashtavakra Gita. The bondage Janaka is, you think you need sadhana. You think you have to do sadhana? No, that is the bondage, he says. What do you mean? We talk so much about Veda Purva, preparation, this, that, etc. And then he comes and says, if you think you have to do all this, that itself is bondage. Now, what is it that you necessarily have to do? Maturity is required to accept the truth. Again, maturity is necessary to accept the truth. An immature person will not be able to accept the fact. Again, an immature person will not be able to accept the fact. You need an impartial observation to accept the truth. That impartial observation means you have moved away from your ego. Only when you move away from your ego, you can be impartial. As long as you are seeing through your ego, it is always the artificial intelligence மாதிரி ஏதோ ஒரு bias அதில் ஏதோ ஒரு bias இருந்துக்கிட்டே தான் இருக்கும். Some discrimination will be there because it is seen through the instrument. So what is the reality? Standing apart means you stand apart, you move away from the ego, you move away from the instrument. That moving away from the instrument, Pret Asma Loka Amrita Bhavanti. They attain to this immortal state. They attain to this immortal state. This is mantra. That is the answer to the question. Kena Ishitam, Kena Preshitam. Answer is Shrotrasya Shrotram. We will continue the same discussion after the break.